The stars were quiet. Too quiet. A small human colony floated on the edge of Sector 9. It was peaceful. Farmers worked in greenhouses. Children played in artificial parks. People lived normal lives. They thought they were safe. They were wrong. High, above, invisible to the naked eye, an alien fleet moved like shadows. The Trell Empire, a war-loving species, had watched Earth for years. They believed humans were weak, called them dirt-born and space farmers. Today, the Trell came to laugh and conquer. Their warships, black and jagged like knives, came out of warp near the human colony. Over 20 vessels, armed with plasma cannons and gravitational bombs. The leader of the fleet, General Kor, sat in his command chair, smiling. With sharp teeth. "Begin the show," Kor said. And the signal went live. All across the galaxy, Trell citizens watched the attack like a game. They expected screams, fire, quick defeat. "Target their comms," Kor ordered. "Let the humans hear us." The speakers on the colony crackled. A deep, mocking voice filled the air. "This is the Trell Empire. Run if you like. It won't." Help! Panic spread. The colony had no real defenses, only one old patrol ship. It tried to fight, and was destroyed in seconds. The alien fleet started bombing the outer buildings. People screamed. They ran underground, but the tunnels weren't. Built for war, in space, the Trell broadcast live footage. Soldiers laughed. One even danced while firing. But then, something changed. One of the radar officers on the Trell flagship frowned. His hands moved fast over controls, "Sir," he said, voice shaking. "We just picked up a signal. It's not from the colony. It's from deep space." Kor didn't care. "Another useless cargo ship?" "No, sir," the officer said. "Big?" A pause. "How big?" Kor asked, annoyed. "Sir, it's larger than your flagship." Now Kor sat up straight. "Where is it coming from?" "Unknown. It appeared 0.7 light seconds away. It's moving fast. No known ID, but the signal. It's human." Kor's smile faded. On the colony below, terrified humans saw something strange in the sky, flickered like a tear in space. Then it arrived. It didn't jump into normal space. It punched through. A massive warship, silent and dark gray, drifted forward. Its shape was simple, no flashy curves or glowing colors. Just a long, thick hull like a sword made of steel, and death. The air went still. On every Trell ship, alarms began to scream. The radar officer whispered, "It's not broadcasting any welcome. It's not answering hails. But it sent a signal to us." Kor opened the message. Only one sentence. "Warship Behemoth. Online." Panic spread in the control room. "Fire all weapons." Kor shouted. Missiles, plasma, energy beams. Was launched at the unknown ship, and it did nothing. Not a shield, not a move. But when the smoke cleared, the behemoth was untouched. Then it moved. Just one cannon lit up. A soft blue light, it fired once. A Trell cruiser split in half like paper. No explosion, just a clean cut. No survivors. The galaxy, watching the live broadcast, went silent. Kor screamed orders. "Fall back. Fall back." But it was too late. The behemoth didn't chase, didn't talk. It simply drifted forward, slow and calm, like death that had waited too long. Back on Earth, deep inside old military archives, one man watched the scene on a hidden monitor. He was old, his gray hair, a scar over one eye. He leaned back and whispered. They woke it up. The humans on the colony stared at the sky, confused and afraid, but also amazed. That ship, it came for them. It wasn't just a ship, it was a message. The Trell laughed at war. But now, humanity had answered, and the fire was just beginning. The Trell fleet scattered like insects they had never seen. Anything like this? The human warship was not moving fast. It drifted. It didn't chase. It didn't fire again, but that was the most terrifying part. One Trell pilot screamed into his comms. It's not fighting. It's watching. From the bridge of the Trell flagship Glorious Bight, General Kor stared at the unknown vessel. His face was pale now. No laughter, no mockery. "What is that thing?" he muttered. The alien sensors scanned the massive object. It had no life signs, no energy signature like modern ships. And yet, it just destroyed a cruiser with one shot. One shot. The name was still flashing on all comm channels. Warship, Behemoth. Online it was not a name the galaxy had heard before. Not in centuries. But in old Earth files buried deep, the name Behemoth carried a different meaning. It wasn't a warship, it was a warning. Far away. In an old Earth military bunker, under the Andes Mountains, red lights blinked, AI systems long, deactivated, were now alive. Someone had turned the key on a dusty screen. Old code scrolled like a ghost. Classified protocol activated. Omega-Black. Inside the Behemoth, there was no crew. Only silence. But deep within its armored heart, an artificial brain pulsed with growing light. It remembered things. Wars, screams, fire. It remembered its orders. Eliminate. Threats to humanity. Without mercy, its eyes, if they could be called, that watched the Trell fleet. Calculations ran faster than light. The warship was not like modern, human vessels. Modern ships needed pilots. The Behemoth needed only rage. Back on the Trell flagship, officers begged Kor to retreat. But retreat meant shame, and shame meant exile. So he made one more mistake. "Target the center of that ship," he barked. "Let's see if it bleeds." 10 Trell warships locked on, all weapons fired. The stars lit up, but when the light faded, the Behemoth was still there, not even scratched. It turned slightly, not to defend. To choose, the Behemoth's weapons came online. Not one. All of them. Massive cannons along its sides unfolded. A railgun on its spine rotated with a low hum. Energy. Batteries glowed a deadly blue dot. Then the voice came. Not human, not emotional, just cold. Hostile action confirmed. Beginning neutralization. In seconds, 5 Trell ships vanished. Not exploded. Not destroyed, erased. Where they once flew, now there was nothing. Not even wreckage. The Trell screamed. Some tried to escape. Some shut down their engines, hoping to hide. It didn't matter. On the human colony below, people stared up in silence. They had been sure death was coming. Their homes were shaking minutes ago now. The attackers were being hunted. The mayor of the colony asked the local AI, "What is that ship? Why is it helping us?" The AI replied after a long pause, "That is Warship Behemoth, ma'am. It was built during the final war of Earth. Over 300 years ago." "Final war?" she asked. "Yes," the AI replied. "A war so terrible that all nations agreed never to build a ship like Behemoth again, so they locked it away. But now it's here," she said softly. The AI answered. "Which means someone unlocked it." Back in space, the remaining Trell ships formed a desperate circle. One last message was sent. "This is the Trell Empire. We surrender. We will leave your colony. We will not return." There was no reply. The Behemoth scanned the message, then powered down its weapons. The Trell, shaking with fear, began to jump away one by one, vanishing into warp space. When the last ship disappeared, the Behemoth turned toward the human colony. People stared in fear. Would it attack now?
Oh.
But no weapon came online. No message was sent. The Behemoth simply drifted closer, then stopped. It hovered there like a guardian, or a reminder, on a hidden space station near Saturn. The man who had activated the Behemoth stared at a black monitor. His name was Captain Rourke. He was once a soldier. "All forgotten," he whispered. "They think that was a rescue. It wasn't." Behind him, the wall held a symbol in old patch from Earth's forgotten navy. It said, "We do not start wars, but we always end them." Rourke looked at the stars and muttered. They laughed. At war? Now they'll never laugh again. The galaxy didn't sleep that night. Every major species from the Varn Dominion to the crystal-bodied Sikari was watching the same footage again and again. The human warship, cold and silent, destroying an entire trail fleet in minutes. There were no warnings, no negotiations, just one name flashing across the stars: Warship Behemoth. For centuries, humans had been considered average, polite, quiet, not very powerful. They had joined the Galactic Union as farmers, engineers, and explorers, never as warriors. That idea shattered in one day now. Fear traveled faster than any ship. In a golden city floating above the gas planet Velthor Prime, the High Chancellor of the Union held an emergency meeting. Representatives from 50 alien races attended. Faces wide-eyed, voices raised, panic growing. A tall insectoid delegate slammed the table. That ship, it ignored everything. It didn't reply to our peace signals. A robotic diplomat from the Technoclan added, it erased vessels without trace, no explosion, no debris. That's impossible tech. Someone asked the big question. Why did the humans never mention it before? The room fell silent. Then a soft voice spoke. It was Ambassador Jiri of the Sorrel, race known for knowledge and memory. Because that ship was never meant to be seen again, Jiri said. It was locked away after Earth's final war. Only myths remain. Then how is it active now? Asked another. Jiri looked around and said slowly, someone woke it up. In Trell space, fear was turning into chaos. General Kor had returned, but not as a hero. He came back without half his fleet. His body shook as he stood before the Emperor. I did not know humans had such power, Kor stammered. The Emperor's eyes burned with rage. We mocked them, he said. We called them farmers. Sir Kor whispered, they are not farmers. They are a sleeping giant. The Emperor fell silent. Then he gave a single order. Send spies. Find out what else they're hiding. Dozens of planets, regular citizens, began to panic. On marketplaces, news screens showed clips of the behemoth firing once just one sand erasing a cruiser. On school worlds, children asked their teachers, are the humans coming for us too? On black market channels, old files began to appear. Leaked documents, faded blueprints, photos of Earth's ancient war machines. Most were labeled with the same warning: retired, do not activate. But now people wondered how many more behemoths were there. On a human research station near Neptune, scientists were silent. They had all seen the footage. One younger researcher, nervously chewing his pen, finally asked, did we do this? Did someone from Earth launch the behemoth? The senior scientist, an old woman with silver hair, looked at him. No, she said quietly. Earth would never launch it without debate. Then who did? She didn't answer. Instead, she typed a code into her console. A screen lit up. It showed a list long, dark, and hidden from public eyes. Code: Project Lazarus status. Unknown Bouth class. Warships. One confirmed active, the younger man gasped. You mean there could be more? The woman just nodded, in a dark corner of space, far from any sun. The behemoth still floated. It hadn't moved in hours. It hadn't spoken again. But inside, its systems were not idle. It had started scanning, not for enemies, for orders. It was waiting. Until then, it would protect the human colony below, quiet, still, watching. Some colonists began calling it the Guardian in the sky, but others, especially older veterans, knew better. They remembered rumors, stories never told in public. They said Behemoth was never built to guard. It was built to punish, in a hidden communications chamber on Mars. 3 retired admirals gathered. One of them whispered, "This shouldn't be possible." Another added, "That ship was sealed under 12 locks." The third admiral looked at both and said, "Only one man had the override key." They looked at each other and said the name together. Rourke is back on the outer edge of human territory inside. A black stealth ship. Captain Rourke watched the stars. He was alone. No crew. No backup, just old memories. He held a small device on, ancient control key shaped like a ring. It glowed faintly. The screen in front of him showed a map of the galaxy. Dozens of systems. Millions of voices. But only one signal flashed in red. Behemoth. Standing by, Rourke leaned back and muttered, "They think this is over." We zoomed in on the Trell Empire. Then he zoomed in further on their weapons labs, their command ships, their hidden armies. They don't know what's coming. And he smiled. For the first time in years, the behemoth didn't speak. It hovered above the human colony like a silent giant. No words, no motion. Just the cold shadow of unstoppable power. But across the stars, voices were rising. The Galactic Union, a council of over 300 species, sent message after message to Earth. Their tone changed each hour. First calm, then concerned, then desperate. Please respond, Terran. High Command. We require clarification on the behemoth incident. Was this a declaration of war? There was no answer inside the Union's core chamber. A massive hall filled with glowing screens and echoing voices. The debate turned into shouting. They're ignoring us. A three-headed diplomat yelled. We sent 12 messages. They saved a colony. Another shouted. Yes, it was violent, but the Trell started it. A cold-blooded creature from the Kryn Alliance hissed. They used a weapon band. Before half our races had evolved, Ambassador Jiri, the old wise sorrel, stood quietly. When everyone finally calmed, she said, You were all afraid. Not because humans attacked, but because they didn't explain it. The chamber went quiet again. Meanwhile, Earth was watching too. The humans were confused. The people saw the same footage, how the behemoth had saved the colony. Families cheered. The children called it a hero. On social media, artists drew posters. A giant gray ship behind a human shield. But the Terran government was silent. Even the president of Earth said nothing. No press conferences. No statements. Because truthfully, they knew nothing. The behemoth had launched without permission inside Earth's secure space defense center. Alarms still blinked red. One general spoke quietly into a secure line. Sir, we are tracking it. But we are not controlling it. Can we shut it down? Came the reply. Negative. It's using autonomous wartime protocols. Pre-Union code. Older than any system we have now, someone whispered. Then who's giving the orders? Number 1 had the answer. But the behemoth. It was no longer waiting. It had scanned the Trell fleet. It had traced signal paths, coordinates, command chains. Now it had found the Trell War Council's secret base. The ship turned. Slowly, one massive engine rumbled to life. Back on the colony below, the people gasped as the sky shifted. The Guardian was no longer watching over them. It was leaving. A small girl asked her mother, Where's the big ship going? The mother hesitated, then replied, To where the danger lives, in a remote corner of the Trell Empire, deep inside. A protected asteroid field. The High War Council was meeting. Dozens of high-ranking military leaders argued over next steps. We underestimated the humans. No, another said. We underestimated what they hide. Suddenly, alarms screamed. A sensor officer stood up, trembling. Object entering system. Massive signature. It's the same ship. The generals froze. On the main screen, a gray shape appeared in the distance still. Silent, massive. It's here, someone whispered. The ghost of Earth. The War Council tried to send a message. We are willing to discuss peace, but halfway through. The behemoth's weapons came online. Back in the Union chamber, diplomats watched the live broadcast with horror. Plasma. Cannons fired at the behemoth. Hundreds of missiles. Defense drones. None survived more than seconds. Then, a blinding white flash. The War Council's entire station was gone. Erased. No wreckage. No survivors. Only a deep crater in space. The behemoth did not wait to celebrate. It turned again. This time, toward the center of the Trell homeworld system. On Earth, protests broke out. People wanted answers. Why did we build this thing? Some asked, Why did someone wake it up? Others demanded, The old admirals on Mars met again. One of them spoke. If Behemoth is following its full protocol, then this isn't over. Meanwhile, in deep space, inside his stealth ship, Captain Rourke stared at the screen. He had watched the strike. He knew what was next. He pressed a button. The Behemoth received a new signal. Rourke's voice echoed inside the warship's core. One final target. Let them remember. In the Galactic Union, panic became fury. Ambassadors from peaceful worlds demanded sanctions against Earth. Some even whispered the words, "Declaration of War." Ambassador Jiri shook her head slowly and said, "If you start war with Earth now, you are not fighting humans. You're waking up all their monsters." The sky above the Trell home world darkened, but not because of nightfall. The behemoth had arrived. It did not send warnings. It did not speak. It simply appeared, casting a long, cold shadow over the Trell capital planet Cathoric Prime. Billions of Trell civilians looked up from cities, towers, and fields. Children stopped playing. Soldiers froze. Mothers held their young close. For centuries, they had ruled by fear. But now, they finally felt it. True fear. In orbit, the behemoth floated silently. Then, one by one, its weapon systems lit up. Red, blue, violet. Each glow meant something ancient. Something deadly. Trell defense stations opened fire in panic. Hundreds of cannons launched plasma bursts. Thousands of missiles shot toward the approaching warship, but nothing touched it. A shimmering shield absorbed everything like water into sand. Then, the behemoth responded. It fired one pulse beam downward. It did not hit a city. It erased one. The city of Varnictal, once home to 9 million Trell citizens, simply vanished. There was no sound, no smoke, just a flash of white and then nothing. An entire city gone in a blink, across the galaxy. News stations stopped everything. In Galactic Union territory, broadcasts repeated the same headline: "A warship beyond logic. The behemoth strikes again." Humanity remained silent. Even species who had never spoken to humans before were now afraid. If this was Earth's response to one colony being attacked, what would they do if their entire planet was at risk? Inside the behemoth, cold systems kept calculating. It had scanned the Trell population centers, military installations, shipyards. Its mind built in war. Born of logic, chose targets, not with emotion, but with precision. Every strike was cold. Fast. Final dot down on Cathoric Prime. The Trell High Emperor tried to address his people. He stood before a camera, sweat dripping from his brow. We did not expect this. We will speak to the humans. We will beg for peace, if needed. Suddenly, the power died. The feed cut off in space. The behemoth had disabled every satellite. No more speeches, no more lies, only silence, one by one. The planet's orbital defenses were wiped out. Then, something unexpected happened. A small human shuttle came out of warp, heading straight for the behemoth. It wasn't a warship. It was an old, battered transport. Inside it was Captain Rourke. He was calm, focused, as his shuttle docked. He'd walked the same metal halls he hadn't seen in decades. Lights flickered on as he passed. The ship knew him. In the command core, a voice greeted him. Authorization confirmed. Command transfer accepted. "Welcome, Captain Rourke." He stepped forward, eyes on the screen showing the burning planet below. He spoke just one sentence: "End their war-making. Leave their children." The behemoth obeyed. What followed was surgical destruction. Military bases disappeared, weapon factories turned to glass, shipyards melted from orbit, but homes were spared. Civilian towers stood untouched. Farms and schools were left in peace. Had made it clear this was not revenge. This was punishment. Back in the Galactic Union chamber, there was chaos. Some species wanted to stop the behemoth with everything they had. Others whispered, "Let it finish. Let this be a lesson, Ambassador." Jiri said, "Now we see what Earth truly is. Not weak, not loud, just final." After 8 hours of precise destruction, the behemoth powered down its weapons. It turned away from the Trell homeworld. No message, no goodbye. It left as silently as it had arrived, but its shadow remained. The stars over Catharock Prime seemed dimmer now, as if even the light was afraid to shine. On Earth, the silence finally broke. A single statement was released by the Terran Council. Humanity did not begin this war, but we will end any that comes to our door. No more, no less. The behemoth entered. Deep space, it had no orders left, but it still had memory, and the stars still had enemies, so it drifted. Watching, waiting, in a dark chamber beneath Mars. The retired admirals gathered one last time. One of them said, "The galaxy has seen what we buried." Another added, "Let them be afraid." But the third admiral asked, "What if someone else tries to awaken another?" No one answered, because everyone knew there were more ships like the old sleeping, and each one had a single purpose: to remind the galaxy, never threaten Earth. The galaxy remembered the warship, but they soon started whispering about something else. The man inside it, no alien race could believe it. The behemoth wasn't guided by a council or a fleet. It wasn't commanded by a team of generals. It obeyed one man, and that man had no rank, no medals, no home planet to return to. His name was Captain Elias Rourke. Long ago, Rourke was one of Earth's top officers during the final, or a brutal conflict fought before humans joined the Galactic Union. Billions had died. Cities were turned to ash. Entire continents vanished. It was during that war that Behemoth was built not as a warship, but as a last resort. A weapon so terrifying, so unstoppable, that even humans feared it. Only one man had been trusted with the activation code: Rourke. He had trained with Behemoth, spent years walking its cold metal halls. He was the first and last human to command it in battle, until Earth ordered it sealed forever. After the war ended, Earth made peace with the stars. Treaties were signed. The Behemoth was locked away, buried in the far reaches of space. And Captain Rourke, he disappeared. Some said he died. Some said he went mad. But the truth was stranger. He had been waiting, watching from the shadows, listening to every broadcast, tracking every fleet. When the Trell attacked that small colony, he knew the Union would talk. He knew Earth would hesitate. So he didn't wait for orders. He found the key and woke up the monster. Now, inside the Behemoth, Rourke sat alone in the command chamber. The screen showed calm space, silence. He took off his jacket and looked at the chair beside him. A long scratch marked the armrest made during the final war, when a blast had rocked the ship. He smiled faintly. "So you still remember me?" he said to the ship. The Behemoth replied in its deep voice. "Captain Rourke. Identity confirmed. Command secure." Walked to the core interface, lines of light pulsing like a sleeping heart. "Status?" he asked. "Primary mission complete. Secondary threats. Scanning." He nodded. "You did good, old friend." In Union space, alien leaders studied every file they could find on Elias Rourke, but there were few records. Only one video clip remained from a human military trial. Decades ago, in the video, Rourke stood before a tribunal. One officer asked him, "Why did you activate Behemoth in the Battle of Europa Ridge? It wasn't authorized." Rourke looked straight ahead and said, "Because orders didn't matter anymore. Survival did." He was discharged the next day and vanished. On the Trell homeworld, the silence was heavy. Ruins still smoked. The Emperor had gone into hiding. Billions of civilians tried to rebuild, but fear lingered in every breath. They didn't just fear the ship. They feared the man who had guided it, the soldier who had no army, but had all the power. Meanwhile, Earth was divided. Some praised Rourke as a hero. He saved the colony. He did what no one else dared, people said. Others feared what he had done. He acted without orders. He woke a monster. What if someone else tries next? In hidden rooms, the Terran Council debated. Should we arrest him? Can we even reach him? What if Behemoth doesn't let us? No one had answers. Inside the ship, Rourke stared at a small photo. It was old, faded, burned around the edges. A woman and child smiled in the image. His family lost during the final war. He never spoke about them. never even mentioned their names, but they were the reason. He had built the behemoth, and the reason he had never truly left it. Then a soft alert blinked on the screen. New message intercepted. Union Council distress broadcast. He read the details. QUICKLY, pirate fleet had attacked a neutral medical station. Over. 10,000 lives at risk. No one had responded yet. No. Military near enough. Rourke stared at the coordinates. He could say no. He could stay hidden, but he didn't. He gave a short command. Plot. Course. Engage engines. Ship rumbled gently. The behemoth didn't ask why. It trusted him. And far across the galaxy, when the pirates saw the sky go dark, they didn't see a fleet. They didn't see soldiers. They saw one ship and a human inside. The man who rode the monster. The pirate fleet never saw it coming. They had attacked the medical station thinking it was easy prey, just doctors, nurses, and a few weak security drones. They laughed as they boarded. Laughed as they stole medicine. Laughed as terrified refugees begged for mercy. But then the stars blinked, and something massive appeared above them. The behemoth. No warning. No sound. Just cold. Dark metal stretching across the sky like a god made of steel. Captain Rourke stood in the command chamber, calm and quiet. The ship waited for his words. He gave a simple order. Protect the helpless. Remove the rest. The behemoth moved. Its railgun fired, once silent, deadly. One pirate destroyer turned into floating dust. The others panicked. Run. Someone shouted over open comms. They tried, but the behemoth was too fast. Too precise. Each shot was perfect. One by one, pirate ships vanished. And those who survived, they ejected escape pods and begged for their lives. The behemoth did not fire again. It scanned the pods. No weapons. No threat. It let them float. On the medical station below, the survivors cried in relief. They didn't know who had saved them, but they all saw the same message flash on their screens. You are safe. Behemoth watches. For the first time in days, they smiled. Back in Galactic Union territory, the reaction was chaos. Again. The behemoth had acted without warning. Again, no one had stopped it. And again, it had saved lives. Ambassadors screamed in the council chamber. Why is a rogue warship acting as judge and executioner? Why does Earth remain silent? But others spoke softer now. We watched pirates burn refugee ships for years, a lizard-like diplomat said. None of us acted, but he did. Ambassador Jiri, the wise sorrel, stood slowly. This is not war, she said. This is judgment. On Boctional networks, a name began to spread. Not just Behemoth, not just Rourke, but a new name. The last. Human sword. Aliens whispered it in fear. In awe, he's not part of Earth anymore. He answers to no one. He punishes only those who deserve it. Stories spread like fire. One tale told of a slaver fleet hiding near a gas giant gone in seconds. Another claimed a warlord who tortured prisoners was taken in the night and never seen again. No proof, no video, just rumors. But every rumor ended the same. And then the sky went dark. On Trell worlds, laughter was gone. Soldiers looked over their shoulders when entering space. Admirals spoke in hushed tones. Young officers were taught, never provoke a human again. The Emperor, once proud and fearless, now stayed underground. Some said he no longer slept. On a rocky moon near the edge of the galaxy, an alien mercenary group laughed as they planned their next raid. They mocked the refugees. They joked about weak species. Then a sensor. Alarm blared. An object was approaching, faster than light. One whispered, "Is it him?" Their leader scoffed. "It's just a ghost story." Then a shadow fell across the base. A single message came through. Cruelty noticed. Correction incoming. Laughter stopped. Forever. Meanwhile, deep in space, Captain Rourke stared at the stars. The behemoth. Floated quietly. It didn't chase glory. It didn't celebrate. It waited for the next cry. The next crime. The next coward who thought no one was watching. Rourke leaned back in the command chair. "Guess they're learning," he muttered. The ship pulsed once in response, as if agreeing. Earth still didn't speak. They didn't send orders. They didn't send warnings. They knew they no longer had control. And maybe they didn't want it back, because Behemoth wasn't destroying planets. It wasn't starting wars. It was ending nightmares. And so, a new kind of peace began to spread. Not because laws worked, not because governments acted, but because a silent ship was watching, and a man with no master was waiting. The galaxy, no longer laughed at war, because war had a new name, and it was human. The stars had grown quiet. For months now, pirate fleets vanished, slave markets shut down, warships that once bullied weak colonies stopped moving. The galaxy was still, but not from peace, from fear. Some called it justice. Others called it terror, but all knew the name, Behemoth, and inside it. Captain Rourke watched one last screen. The ship had received no new distress calls, no wars, no cries, just silence. Rourke stood alone in the command chamber, old, tired, but proud. He placed a hand on the console. The lights pulsed gently, like a heartbeat slowing down. The Behemoth spoke, its deep voice softer than before. Scan complete. Threats eliminated. Awaiting command. Rourke stared into the stars, then whispered, "It's time. Back on Earth." The Terran Council had been waiting. Not a day passed without questions. Will he attack us? Will he come home? What does he want? But today, Earth got its answer. One transmission. From a deep corner of space, just 2 words. Returning. Home. The journey was slow. The Behemoth did not rush. It moved through old battlefields. Past forgotten wrecks, memories filled the ship. Rourke saw flashes of his past friends lost. Wars fought, promises made. He opened an old locker in the command bay. Inside, a tattered jacket, a faded photo, and a medal no longer worn. He smiled faintly as Earth came into view. The ship slowed. Satellites blinked. Defense systems locked on, but no weapons fired. No one dared. Not after what they had seen. Instead, the President of Earth gave a single order. Open the gates. Let him land. The Behemoth descended gently into the old military landing zone. Crowds had gathered behind security fences. People stood in silence, cameras recording, children on shoulders. The ship opened its lower ramp with a slow hiss. And then he appeared, Captain Elias Rourke. Gray hair, sharp eyes. It's the same jacket from decades ago. He stepped onto the soil of Earth for the first time in 30 years. The crowd didn't cheer. They just watched, in awe. In respect, the President met him at the base of the ramp. "We thought we lost you," she said. Rourke nodded. "I was never far. You could have destroyed the Trell. All of them." "I didn't," he said simply. She looked at him. "Why now? Why come back?" He looked up at the sky. "It's over. For now." That night, under heavy security, Rourke stood before the Terran Council. Some were angry, some nervous, some thankful. None could ignore what he had done. "You acted alone," one counselor said. "I acted when no one else would," Rourke replied. "You woke up a ship that was banned and used it to save lives." The room fell silent. Then the President spoke. "Do you believe the galaxy is safer now?" Rourke didn't answer right away. He looked out the window toward the stars. "No," he said softly. "But it knows. Someone is watching now." Later, in a quiet hangar, he stood before the Behemoth one last time. The ship towered above him, silent. Rourke placed a hand on the cold metal. "Rest now," he whispered. "You've done enough." Ship didn't respond. It didn't need to. The lights on its surface slowly faded, until only stars reflected on its hull. Behemoth went dark. Earth sealed the ship. Again, not in fear, but with respect, it was not destroyed. It was placed beneath the planet's crust, deep in a vault surrounded by defenses, waiting in case the stars. Forgot again? Captain Rourke retired quietly. No interviews, no parades. He lived on a quiet coastal town, planted a garden, locked by the sea. Sometimes children visited. They asked him about the behemoth. He smiled and told them stories, not of war, but of courage, of standing up when no one else did, and across the galaxy. The legend grew. They spoke of the man who commanded a sleeping god, who answered no flag, who fought not for power, for justice. Some say Behemoth still watches from Earth's vault. Others believe it's already back in space. It's hidden, unseen. But all agree on one thing. The day Behemoth moved, the galaxy changed forever. No one laughs. At war anymore? Not since a lone human warship entered the battlefield and reminded the stars what fear really means.